Hi, my name is Benson Edman, and I'm part of the LTV Community Intern Project. Here with me today, I have Beth Rattray, who is the founder and chair of the Anchor Society, a nonprofit organization focused on commerce that serves the East Hampton community. Thank you so much for being here with me today, Beth.
I'm delighted to be here.
I have some questions for you, and
Great.
the first one that I have is, how long ago was the Anchor Society founded, and what influenced you in creating the organization?
Yeah. Well, it actually came out of a journalism story. 3 years ago, we were inspired to found it as a nonprofit because a couple years before that, I'd done some reporting for East Magazine, which is the magazine of the East Hampton Star, about the problem that a lot of resort communities face where their property values skyrocket and it changes the face of Main Street. So instead of Main Street shutting down because of as happens in a lot of the country, sometimes that'll happen because there's a mall outside of town or everyone's shopping at Amazon, which of course is true. There's an additional problem, which is that the smaller stores, locally owned businesses and mom and pops are priced out of the rent. They can't compete. And so you end up with a lot of international or national brands that take over Main Street. And that's what's happened here in East Hampton,
Yeah, definitely.
So we did some reporting on that, and we called around to different resort communities to find out if anyone had actually come up with a solution to this problem. And we found that there were some communities that had, in fact, come up with a way to interrupt that cycle. It's been done in Vermont. It's been done in Nantucket, where they harness the wealth of the community to actually buy property, to secure property that then they can use to foster local businesses that are accessible to the community and wanted by the community. So it might be a bakery or a bookstore, it might be a general store, whatever it is that the community desires. And so that's where the idea was born.
Yeah, it's a really great idea, trying to foster commerce that actually serves the community, because as an East Hampton resident, whenever I run through town for sports or anything like that, so many of the stores are just closed and town's so empty. So it'd be great if there were stores around that were more focused on serving the East Hampton locals instead of just the wealthy residents. So what are some of the specific goals that the Anchor Society has for the town of East Hampton?
Fantastic question, Benson. Basically, what we're trying to do is correct the balance of what's going on in the main commercial business district. Our idea is that not that there's any problem with designer goods or luxury goods or having Chanel or Louis Vuitton. That's not a problem. That's not the enemy. The problem is that it's a monoculture. So we have too much of the same thing. We have too many of certain kinds of shops that are very exclusive in price point, and we don't have a mix that is appealing to either the residents or even to visitors, really, because people who visit the town, tourists or summer folk or weekenders, really what they want is things that they can't find elsewhere. They also would love to be able to shop and buy necessities, as you can in certain other villages, like as you can in Sag Harbor. So what we're trying to do is find creative new ways to change that mix and make it a healthier mix, to make it a more diverse ecosystem with more affordable stores, with some of the types of shops that people have told us in different kinds of studies we've done they want to see in the village.
Yes. Yeah. And so I'm going to quickly mention the topic for this project that I have chosen and why it relates to the Anchor Society and all of its goals. And that is what I would like to call business diversity, which is essentially the variety of businesses in a specific area. So the issue with East Hampton is that it really has a low business diversity. There's not many diverse stores, so it's mostly just luxury brands. And once the summer's over, essentially what happens is a lot of these stores will close. In the town, it's really quiet, and I've seen that happen a lot, and that is why I wanted to focus on this issue, because I find it really interesting.
Yeah, I think it's brilliant that you're working on that and thinking about that, because that's exactly it.
Yeah. And I actually was not aware of the Anchor Society before I started this. I was not aware of it. My mom didn't know of it. But I was not aware that there was an organization trying to fix this problem. And so when I found out about it, I was like, oh, that's perfect. This is exactly what I was trying to do some research on.
Super cool. I love it that
Yeah.
you're thinking about that. Yeah. Yeah, that's exactly what we've been thinking too. We've actually done studies. One of the things we're doing is trying to get our volunteers, which are just, we have a few hundred people who are on our mailing list, and every year we invite them, for example, to do a walk in the winter where we walk through the village and we just do an inventory. What's open, what's closed? Is this locally owned? Is this an international brand? And strangely enough, nobody had done that before. Nobody had that information. So we've been doing that for a few years now, and we can see what the trends are, and we can see that, you know, in a certain year, it might be 49% of businesses shut down for the winter. That's a major impact, you know,
Yeah.
and I'm old enough to remember when that wasn't the case and to know that things could survive in the winter. You know, that's before internet shopping, but if you look at other villages that have a healthier ecosystem, it tells you that we could be that too. We can't just blame it all on the internet, that there's steps we can take, and other communities have.
Yeah. So what are some of the ways in which you yourself have actually witnessed East Hampton's business diversity affect the East Hampton locals?
Oh.
And why specifically do you believe that solving this issue is important?
Yeah, that's a great question too. You know, I was young in the 80s and even the 70s. And so I can remember when the village was where people went every day. You wandered downtown. We called it up street. Locals will remember that. And you went in the news company, or you went in Marley's and you got yourself a candy bar. There were so many places where you could gather, where you walked in the door and you knew people. But it's not just about nostalgia. It's about being aware that a community, whether it's the business people or it's a group like ours or the chamber, it can be forward thinking in terms of not just accepting the status quo. I don't think it's the future that we just have sort of a sterile downtown that shuts down in the winter. You know, a lot of the stores that we see now are things that you can see elsewhere. You can see them in a luxury mall at Manhasset, or you can see them in London, or you can see them in Shanghai. It's not unique to here, and that is actually not great for any of the businesses. You know,
Yeah.
There are some wonderful local businesses that have stuck it out in the village, and they deserve our applause and our thanks because they're sticking it out through thick and thin. But it's not good for them that the stores around them are shutting down. It's not good for them that people don't go to the village as a destination for their everyday needs or to meet one another so much.
Yeah.
You know, in the past few months, we've had some good news where one of the local landlords, Jay Eastman, redeveloped that center of the village on Eastman Way. There's smoky buns and there's ice cream, and that's a really great effort to try and create these gathering places again, and we really applaud that. And that's hand in hand with what we're trying to do as well.
Yeah. It's a really great mission. And it's interesting to see your specific perspective on it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so I'm aware of the Anchor Society's goal for the general store in
yeah.
town. And so what will this general store offer for residents to alleviate the issues caused by the business diversity?
Another fantastic question. The reason why we landed on a general store, it came out of work we'd done early on 3 and 4 years ago, where we wanted a place that was for businesses but was also a gathering place. And we struck upon the idea of a general store like you see in Vermont or Maine. And part of this is that there are organizations, a preservation trust, for example, in Vermont that has done this, where they've rescued an existing general store. And that's because it's not just commerce. It's commerce where people come and go, where you linger, where you have your coffee, where you see old friends. So it's serving a practical need. I need shoelaces and I need envelopes to mail something, and I need a loaf of bread. It's practical needs, but it's also that sense of community, and people really miss it. We had a really strong response when we started this 3 and 4 years ago because people want that. They want to be going to go into the village and
Yeah.
find a warm, welcoming place. So our vision is that we want a general store that also has accessory businesses that are services: tailor, cobbler, knife sharpener, bike repair. those are the dream. You know, some of those are even hard to find people to do. Shoe repair, cobbler is hard to find.
Oh, yeah.
But that's our dream, is that the general store would either upstairs or in accessory structures also have those services that have a very hard time surviving with the rents as they are. And our vision is, if we own the property, we can be a benevolent landlord, and we can let those spaces out for rent at very affordable prices, way below what the market is. And that way we're fostering these beautiful businesses that support local business and that the people want and that the visitors want.
Yes, yeah, it's very similar to the Vermont Country Store.
Exactly.
Yes, that's exactly what it's like. And,
Exactly, yeah. We love the Vermont Country
Yeah.
Store. And that's a real goal, because it's a great example of practical necessities, but also localism. You can go there and find things that are unique to Vermont.
Yeah.
Our general store should have things that are unique to Eastern Long Island, and that draws the locals and it draws the visitors, and it's something people really crave.
Yeah, both my mother and I, we like whenever we go into Vermont, because she works for a company up in Vermont, from home. Whenever we go there, we almost always visit the Vermont Country Store. So it really shows how even the people who just come out for the summer, they would love something like a general store and more stores that actually serve the locals instead of just like all these luxury brands.
That's right. And part of that is finding the right structure. And the reason why we haven't done this yet, even though we've been working for 3 years on it, was finding the right place, because it has to be, first of all, we believe it has to be in the village.
Yes.
We don't want it to be a drive-to destination necessarily. We want it to be in the village you can walk to. It has to be near other businesses. And it has to have some kind of atmosphere and charm. You know, there are certain properties that are outside of the commercial district that might practically house a store selling your shoelaces and your envelopes and your good bread, but who wants to go there? It has to have charm, and we're working on that very hard right now, and we hope to have news on that this fall. But you know, keep watching this space for news about that.
I'm also aware of the Anxious Society's plan to introduce like pop-up shops into East Hampton Town during the winter, when many of the stores close. And so how many businesses are planned to be introduced into East Hampton Town as pop-up shops, and what type of businesses are they?
Fantastic question once again. So this idea came from a landlord and business owner in the village, Donna McDonald, who is the president of our board. And she is a small business owner and a landlord in the village, right on the parking lot. And it is not great for her business, this situation as it is, with so many things shutting down. So she had the brainwave of, you know, why don't we try and fill these with winter pop-ups? So we are trying our very best. We had 20 or so applicants of local businesses who raised their hand and said, I'd love one of those shops. The idea is that in an agreement with whoever the master tenant is and the landlord, they get it at much below market rate, because otherwise it would be empty. And we're trying to forge these partnerships where the master tenant or landlord likes and supports that local business. So it's kind of a partnership. It's a win-win for everybody. They get a bit of rent relief in the winter. They're not just covering that cost alone. They get the feel good of helping a local mom and pop type store. So our goal for the first year is 3 to 5 of these. I don't know if we're going to make it. It's a very collaborative thing. And what we're finding is it's quite tricky to match available spaces, of which there are some, with the particular shop. Square footage, is it too big? Is it too small? Does the fridge fit through the door? So it's quite a puzzle. We're still hopeful that we're going to do some this winter. 2 of these, 3 of these, something like that in the first winter is probably what it'll be.
Yes.
But you know, this is what it's all about. We are pulling people together to try everything we can possibly try, and we hope that this is going to inform the general store as well, like what there is demand for, what people respond to. And the reason we chose certain categories to highlight, it came out of research we've done, more informal research, as well as there's a group on the board that's working on actual quantitative research, but giving us feedback on what people want. And some of those areas that keep coming up were grab-and-go food, you know, like a quick lunch, healthy food, like Provisions in Sag Harbor, Naturally Good in Montauk, are examples that come up over and over. People want affordable stuff for kids, whether it's clothes or a place for teenagers to shop and gather, and that's another thing that comes up. affordable family stuff. And people, interestingly, are also interested in the idea of more thrift stores or antique stores where you're sort of browsing for the fun of it, like the LVIS shops,
Yes.
or the art thrift shop. Those are things that draw people in, and you can't have too many of those. So those are just a few of the areas that came up in our
Yeah.
polling of the public.
And I have one last question, and that is, what can members of the East Hampton community do to support the Anchor Society?
You can go to our website, theanchorsociety.org, and on the website you can sign up to get on our mailing list, and you'll get occasional news from us and invitations to join in different kinds of research. The walking survey that I mentioned earlier is something we do every year. We've had our first annual event in June, but there's always sort of something going on. And we are completely run by volunteers. We don't have any salaried positions yet. We've got a wonderful board. And so if anyone's involved, if you've got expertise, whether it's real estate, whether it's marketing, whether it's just wanting to join and come to one of our events and talk about it, talk about what you wish was in the village, we would love to have you come. So join the mailing list is what you do. You can find our email on there. It's info@theanchorsociety.org. And if you just want to send us your ideas too, or your thoughts, please do. And I want to also, you brought up something, or we brought up something, people are sometimes concerned that we are supporting local businesses, but what if it were in competition with an existing local business? And the beauty of this is that because we're a nonprofit, we have no motivation to ever be in competition with anybody. The whole point is to help the existing businesses thrive and the community to thrive. So we would never do anything that would be in competition with a local business. So I just want to put that out there just so that people understand that that's the beauty of having a nonprofit do something like this. We're not just looking for the highest bidder, and looking for the highest bidder, of course, is how you end up with, maybe we've got 6 swimsuit stores and 6 sunglass stores and lots of realtors. That is the marketplace, but this is not the marketplace. This is sort of interrupting it in a way that helps everybody, we hope.
Yes. Yeah, that's what's so great about the Anchor Society. And you're not trying to make money from all this. You're really just trying to help people.
Yeah, we're trying anyway.
Yes.
We're trying. Join us. If you don't like what we're doing, join us.
Yes. So thank you so much for agreeing to do this interview today. Thank you. And this interview was brought to you by the LTV Community Intern Project. My name is Benson Edman, and thank you for watching.
Thank you.